presented by Bill Rail. He's a research analyst for Capella University and has been using SAS for more than 3 years to analyze education data and integrate third-party information with internal data through the use of APIs. He is particularly interested in screen scraping as a way of capturing data from public-facing portions of the web, which he views as having significant potential for allowing analysts to glean important insights relevant to the university and its work. Welcome, Bill.
Yay.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you. A colleague of mine wondered aloud recently about the ever-evolving makeup of Dakota County, Minnesota's inmate population. Unfortunately, the county's publicly available information was summarized at a yearly level and wasn't able to answer his question. And while it's useful for their own internal reporting and reporting that they do for agencies above them, it wasn't going to work in our instance. So, what's a data geek like me to do? We'll start from scratch, of course. My name is Bill Rail, I'm a research analyst for Capella University in Minneapolis. And this talk is entitled Using SAS to Help Fight Crime, Scraping, and Reporting Inmate Data. I've been asked to define scraping. Scraping is where you use a publicly viewable website and you take the information down from it in its raw HTML and then convert it to data that we can use for reporting later. We're going to go over some background on what this particular talk's about. Displayed data that shows up on the county's website. The SAS code that does the actual scraping and gleaning of that information. Reporting on that data, and then any pitfalls in using this type of method to do your reporting. In order to create our own summary reports, we're going to need to answer this very important question. Is granular inmate data available? The answer is, of course, somewhere there's granular data. They have a database backing up this website. But the problem is, how are we going to get that? There's any number of ways that we can request granular data for a particular analysis project. The first would be a direct request to the agency itself. Unfortunately, this is costly and time-consuming for both the agency and you, the requester. We live in a time of economic upheaval. Budgets are short, staff's tight. They really don't have the time to be filling your data requests on a regular basis. So you may end up with that yearly summary data anyway, and it may cost you, whatever their staff time was to make it. And then even if you do get it, it just may not be in any kind of format that you want. You can also directly observe and record the data. Again, costly and time-consuming. Who wants to sit in a jail and watch people walk through and then make guesses as to their genders and ages, which doesn't work. You can manually obtain the data. In the state of Minnesota, government agencies, in this case the county, is required to give you for free access to the information that you want for you to view yourself in public. This would be possibly reading some paper information that they keep on these inmates and marking down ones and zeros for whatever you're looking for isn't exactly cost benefit there. Or you can programmatically obtain the data. If they have a website like the county does, you can go in there with the program and pull that information down and put it into a format that we want to use. The first thing would be to download the individual inmate's HTML page. Every single one has one that has many details. We're going to want that to keep it. We're going to parse this HTML to extract the information that we want to report. And then we're going to process that parsed data and bring it into a reportable format. And then report on this data in any way we like. Dakota County, like many other counties in the nation, has an inmate registry search function. In this case, you can search who's currently incarcerated at Dakota County at any given time, last name, date of arrest, their future court date if they have one, and then it provides some basic demographics to see who these people are. I blocked out their names even though this is public data and they were arrested. I felt I would just keep them private for now. It gives their age, date of birth, race, sex, and their booking date, and then a little link there to view more details. And that's the actual page that we're going to scrape, is that view details one. This is a copy of one of the inmates' pages. As you can see, it provides basic demographic information about the inmate, their name, their booking number, their age, etc., and then also charges levied against the individual. The booking number is a unique ID, and in our case, it's good that they increment them by one. It makes it easy to guess who the inmates are and what their ID number is. Provides a front and side view mugshot and various other related data points. Like I said, arresting agency, where they were arrested, the date they were arrested, etc. Also provides the inmate's location. Most of them are housed at Dakota County Jail, but some go to detox. Unfortunately, the site is designed with looking at one single inmate at a time and not at the data in aggregate. And that's the question my colleague posed was actually a very overall number, not one particular person. As I mentioned, the unique ID, which is known as the booking number in this case, are sequentially numbered, makes it easy to guess. The code is set up with a variety of macros which pull down and then parse and process the data that we see here. The first one is the get inmate macro, which you see here. And as you can see, there are 5 booking numbers passed to the macro, and they are sequential. While this example has been simplified for the sake of this presentation, in reality, the code checks for previously stored data in a big table, pulls the most recent booking ID, increments it by 1, and then keeps pulling for the next 50 PASA. This happens once about every 4 hours. In order to pull that data down from the county's website, simple file name statement utilizing the URL access method is employed. That line with the services County Dakota MNUS is their website. And as you can see, there's a PIN number, which is actually the booking number passed from the macro. It then downloads the HTML record for the single individual inmate and stores it in the Dakota file ref. This is what the HTML looks like. It is a massive jumble of raw HTML. But as you can see, there are some important pieces of information in here that we want to take out. In this case, which is a simplified version of the overall, we have their name, their booking number, and their age. For the rest of this example, I'm going to show the booking number and how it is parsed out. While there are numerous ways to do any programming task, as we all know, probably several thousand, I like to believe that the easiest way for this particular example is screen scraping with pearls, regular expressions in SAS. 2 important functions available to us are PRX parse and PRX match. PRX parse locates a particular pattern within a line of text, provides a non-missing value if the pattern is found. PRX match takes that ID variable and then finds the first character position within a line of text where this pattern is found. If it is found and it exists in the line, then we pass it on to the process data macro to do the actual extraction of text. As you can see here, we're searching the massive jumble again for the booking number, the name, and the age, and then that's going to extract through process data macro what we want to later report. Process data macro utilizes the SAS regular expression function PRX change to eliminate extraneous texts in a line. And then, like I said, in this case, it's going to be the booking number. You can see here how each line progresses through in this particular macro. The text is passed, which in this case is this single line of HTML. This particular piece of code will eliminate everything from the beginning of the line up through the first number in that booking number. The second one removes everything from after the booking number up to the end of the line. So in this case, we originally had that big long string prior to the booking number. It's now gone. Now we only have the trailing characters. And in the next line, we will have it pass through. And if it had any commas in it, which in this particular instance it does not, it would change it to a space, useful for first name, last name, middle name separation. But because this one does not have any commas, it doesn't do anything. It leaves the entire booking number available to us now into the variable new. After it runs through for every line of code for each individual inmate, we have a very tall data set with all their data points that we're pulling out. This isn't the entire thing. It's just showing a small subset of the data scraped, for example. As you can see, we have on the left side a variable called new, and then on the right side a variable called ID. The 2 on the outside, pattern and ID and match, will be dropped. The 2 in the middle are the ones we want, and the ID name is something that we've provided. I want to call the booking number booking num, and it has the actual booking number scraped out, etc. for everything to see. Unfortunately, this tall data set isn't going to really do us much good. We want to have it down to one line of text per inmate in order to make reporting easy. So we're going to use proc transpose. Proc transpose will put that data on one line while dropping those two extraneous fields, and it will also name each individual field what we want them to be named. As you can see here, that big tall data set is now one record per inmate. Imagine this with 7,100 records. This one record, inmate's record, will be appended to that very large 7,100 data set for doing reporting later in any variety of ways. In this particular instance, we're going to use proc-SQL. We're going to convert the arrest date to a day of week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc. We're going to count how many inmates were arrested on that particular day. Once you have a table of that data, you can report it any way you want. Tabular data with Sunday and the number next to it, Monday, etc. Or you can pass the proc G-chart to do charting within SAS, any number of those functions. In this case, I actually sent it out to Google Docs, stores the reporting data set as a spreadsheet, and then builds individual charts like this of my choosing, which can then later be pulled from the web dynamically and shown on a web page as a dashboard. There are pitfalls, as I mentioned earlier, to reporting data in this manner. The first and biggest one is understanding the data intricacies. If you do not know how this data is built over time, your reporting could be messy or incorrect. While reporting gender and ethnicities for a single day of inmates is probably not going to cause any problems for you. When you have a reporting data set of 7,000 people over the last year and a half, there are some things, especially in Dakota County, people are incarcerated for weekend stays only. They will show up as multiple times being incarcerated. They're actually just a single entity. They're just coming back every weekend for whatever their time in being incarcerated is. There's also the fact that I crawl every 4 hours. There could be people who are booked and released within that 4-hour window, and we're missing them. They're just not included in the overall data set. When I originally did this, the question being asked really didn't need that many people, so I just don't see it as a problem. It's also a good thing, which I will mention later. There are times when entities you're scraping will attempt to thwart your data collection. This can happen in any number of ways, including, in our instance, they could change that ID number that's now easily incremented by 1 to a random number, stored in another database that only they know. I wouldn't be able to just increment by 1. I'd have to go through some other method, possibly more difficult. Or they can just outright ban your IP address so that you can no longer access their website. In this case, it's public data for the county. I'm scraping every 4 hours only, and it doesn't download that much information in those 4-hour windows. It's only doing 50 inmates at a time. They have not forwarded my Chrome data in this way. Data display format changes and updates. If they make a change in the way the data is displayed on that view and make page, I am looking for very specific lines of code in that HTML to drop. If they change it, then I could have extraneous text. It's actually not what we're looking for in the reporting data set. This can cripple your efforts and lay waste hours of work. One other county that I do this for, very similar method, just slightly different text I'm looking for, made an update to their system, and it changed all their charging information, what inmates were charged with. And I've been a little lazy and haven't gone and updated the code, so for about a year I've just not had any charge information. I keep all the HTML stored for each inmate. However, I'm just not scraping it correctly, so maybe eventually I'll get back to it and fix it. They can also provide purposefully misleading data to you. Say we are reporting age averages. They could just provide random people with an age of 99, just incorrect ages in general. You'll never know that it was actually an incorrect age, but then it thwarts you and makes your reporting totally incorrect and off base. There are many other examples, especially with geolocation data. They might just provide you with coordinates that aren't proper. However, scraping data in this manner can actually be useful for the entity that you're scraping. Another county, not Dakota, is shown here, was actually providing juvenile records to the public. Their names, their genders, what they did, their inmate photos, etc. While it wasn't shown for their public viewable portion of their website, because I was incrementing their booking numbers by 1, I was able to see them, and anyone could have guessed the URLs for these people, and could have possibly faced a lawsuit from a parent of a juvenile who had their information population pulled down and maybe used in a malicious manner. I contacted the county, and within 24 hours they had that hole closed, and they thanked me for my efforts. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you go back to the graph? Oh. So how many weeks and inmates are in that graph? I mean, roughly, is it?
It's a good question. I have a question. Excuse me, thank you.
The question I asked was, how many weeks and how many inmates are the background of this graph? And the reason I'm asking is I'm kind of curious about the pattern.
The question, again, for if you didn't hear, she's asking how many inmates make up this particular data that's behind this graph. And what I do is I have a approximately 6-month window for reporting. I store all those 7,100 inmates and keep them in a large data set, but the numbers would be just gigantic to report on. I mean, you would see, 1,000. And so what I do is I show an ever rolling window of 6 months of data when we do reporting like this. This is from Dakota County, and I probably pulled this in maybe October. You're probably looking at any given time about 1,000 inmates that make up this. I really don't know. I don't remember the specifics behind it at the time. It could have been anything else. The changes here, like I said, if you don't understand the data intricacies of people being arrested and jailed at a later time due to their sentencing. They were arrested at one point in time previously. They went to sentencing, and now they're back in jail. They actually do the sentencing in Dakota County on Mondays and Tuesdays. That's why it's so high. You would think that Saturdays, Fridays, and Sundays would probably be the best with, drunken driving or whatever convictions. However, it's actually Monday and Tuesday because of that. Other question, yes?
What county is Dakota County? Is it a metropolitan area? I'm not familiar with counties in Minnesota.
The question was, what county is Dakota County in Minnesota? She's not familiar. It is a metro county. We are about, the biggest area of population within Dakota County is about 25 miles south of the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. We do encompass a very large area, however. So it could go even far south. It's about 50 miles out. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are there any limits on like the formatting or the HTML, if they're using old scripts versus if a lot of their information is stuck in like JavaScripts? How can you get the information out without actually getting to the HTML code?
The question is there other code that might be necessary to scrape this information out? In this case, the Dakota County system is very simple, which is why I was able to use the file name statement with the URL access method instead of something more elaborate like using curl or some other third-party program to download this. Their HTML is very simple. Their web server is very simple. Nothing fancy there. So in this case, no. In fact, I do this for Scott County, Minnesota, which is an adjacent county to mine, about the same radius out from the cities, and also level 3 sex offenders in Minnesota, which is statewide. And all of those use very similar methods. I don't have to do anything crazy to get it out. Any other questions?